I was testing the strength of finger joints like the ones used in this wood panel here, and I thought it would be nice to test that against some of my own finger joints made with a router bit like this, which is why I bought this one. So this is about as much thickness as I can cut in one pass, and you can see the fingers are way thinner than the gaps between them. So a joint like this will never fit against another one cut by this router bit. And looking at how the cutters actually fit into the joints here, this one seems to go all the way to the end, but if I look at this one, it doesn't go to the end, and this one seems to be scraping more towards the top of it, and this one more on the bottom, so they're not aligned perfectly on either side. So it just doesn't have the precision needed to cut the kind of joints it's meant to cut. And cutting through thicker stock, I was just barely able to pass that through, and I got burning because I was going too slow really. And you can see some of these cutter discs have actually shifted a bit. That's because there's just too much torque on there. And that's with a very soft bit of material too, so it's just not usable for its intended purpose. So taking this apart, these things fit on here rather loosely. So does the bearing, and these all have an 8mm hole in them, and the shaft here is 7.55mm. So I'm 0.45mm small on the shaft here, which is why everything on here is rather loose and off-center. And then we also have about 10 thou worth of runout, that's 1/4 millimeter. So between that and these holes being too big, I can be up to 0.8mm off-center with the cutters. It's just ridiculous. So I bent some shim stock to fit around here to take up some of this slack. And since I can't cut with all the cutters anyways, I'm just going to add some spacers here. There's shim stock, which fits into the spacers, and then just one of my cutter discs, and then some more spacers to fill it up. Well, that's at least close to being able to fit together with itself, but not an accurate fit. Oh, that tear out here completely messes up my positioning, and it's also caused a splinter to come out of my insert, so I'll have to start over. So this looks like it might actually be kind of good. Well, they look fine, but they still don't fit. I think I need to increase the spacing a bit to make that tighter, but also my spacing isn't entirely consistent. You see these ones are off a bit. And then the next problem is the sides of the bevels aren't entirely straight, so even if everything else was fixed, these still wouldn't fit that well. I imagine the precision would be better if I hadn't bought the cheapest one, but I think this sort of design of router bit is inherently flawed because to make a full depth cut at a good enough speed to not get burning, it just can't handle the kind of torque that gets applied to it. So these individual cutters stacked like that, just not a good design. So I should have gone more with something like this one. This one only costs a little bit more than the one I bought, but it's got awfully stubby fingers, so that wouldn't make a very strong end-to-end joint. This one, the geometry on that one is much better, so that would be pretty good, but that one cost about 6 times as much as I paid for the one I bought. And then really I should go for a shaper bit, something like this one, although this one's also kind of stubby, but you need a shaper for that one. But to do this sort of thing in one pass, even with this fried bit, is still really pushing it. but really I would want something like this, which has very pointy fingers and a good height there and goes on the shaper. But that one costs about $2,000, so more than the shaper. Or even something like this one, again, super duper expensive. But I won't be buying any of these bits because I'm only experimenting. I don't really have a business case to spend that kind of money. Another alternative for end-to-end joiner is a scarf joint like this, but it can be tricky to cut this bevel here. And it gives you lots of glue area, but it's tricky to assemble because if you clamp it together like this, it tends to go like this. So you also have to clamp from the end at the same time and get that lined up just right. And to make this very strong, if you go at a really shallow angle, something like this, that helps a lot, but then you lose a lot of length. Now in my last video I tried some V-joints which were just 25 degrees, so fairly short, and they held up okay, so I'll explore that a bit more in my next video.